traveling with medication can be a hassle. Did you know that around 50% of travelers have had issues with their medications at airport security? That's a lot of stress. But don't worry, we've got you covered. In this video, we'll share some insider tips and tricks to make your journey easier. From navigating TSA regulations to handling special medications, we've got all the strategies you need. Fun fact: the TSA screens over 2 million passengers every day, and many of them carry medications. Ever had a scare with your insulin or worried about your CPAP machine? You're not alone. We'll dive into real-life stories and expert advice to help you breeze through security. Plus, we'll reveal some shocking stats. 20% of travelers with controlled substances face delays, but with the right prep, you can avoid this. Get ready to learn how to travel smart and stress-free with your medications. Let's make your next trip the smoothest one yet. Ready to get started? Let's go! Chapter 1. Understanding TSA regulations on medication. Traveling with medication can be stressful, but understanding TSA regulations can ease your mind. The Transportation Security Administration, TSA, has clear guidelines for carrying medications through airport security. According to the TSA, medications in pill or solid form are allowed in unlimited quantities as long as they are screened. But what about liquids? Liquid medications, including over-the-counter items like eye drops or cough syrups, must follow the 3-1-1 rule. This means they should be in containers of 3.4 ounces or less and placed in a quart-sized bag. However, if you need more than 3.4 ounces of a liquid medication, you're in luck. The TSA allows exceptions for medically necessary liquids, gels, and aerosols in reasonable quantities. Always declare these items to the security officers at the checkpoint for inspection. Fun fact: did you know the TSA screens over 2 million passengers daily? That's a lot of medications passing through security. When it comes to controlled substances, the rules get stricter. The TSA advises carrying a copy of your prescription or a doctor's note. This can help if there are any questions about your medication. In a survey by the International Air Transport Association, 45% of travelers expressed concerns about carrying medications through security. Knowing the rules can help alleviate these worries. Remember, being prepared is key. Have all your medications easily accessible, not buried at the bottom of your carry-on. Chapter 2. Labeling your medications properly. Proper labeling of your medications can make your travel experience smoother. The TSA recommends keeping medications in their original packaging. This is especially important for prescription medications. The original packaging often has crucial information that can prevent misunderstandings. But what if you've already combined pills into a single container for convenience? Don't worry. While original packaging is ideal, it's not mandatory. You can carry a labeled plastic bag with your pills if the original bottles are too bulky. However, having the original prescription or a doctor's note can still be helpful. A unique tip: use a pill organizer with labels for each medication. This keeps your meds organized and makes it easy for TSA agents to identify them. According to the TSA, they do not require you to carry medication in the original container, but having it labeled can prevent delays. Interesting fact: in 2019, a study found that 67% of travelers prefer keeping medications in original packaging to avoid issues at security checkpoints. It's clear that many travelers already see the benefit of proper labeling. Chapter 3. Packing liquid medications. What you need to know. Packing liquid medications requires some extra thought. According to TSA regulations, liquid medications are exempt from the 3.4-ounce limit typically imposed on liquids. However, you must declare these medications to TSA officers at the start of the screening process. A practical strategy is to use clear, resealable plastic bags for liquid medications. This not only keeps them organized but also makes them easy to inspect. You can even label the bags for added clarity. A good practice is to pack a small cooler bag for temperature-sensitive medications. The TSA allows these as carry-ons. Fun fact: did you know that about 10% of all travelers carry some form of liquid medication? That's a significant number. If you're traveling with injectable medications, like insulin, make sure to carry your syringes and needles in their original, clearly labeled packaging. This can prevent any confusion during security checks. In a survey conducted by the American Pharmacists Association, 53% of travelers reported that they've had to show their liquid medications to TSA officers. So, don't be surprised if you're asked to do the same. To avoid any hassles, always have a doctor's note or prescription handy. This can be especially useful if your medication needs refrigeration. Lastly, remember that being upfront with TSA agents about your medications can speed up the screening process and make your travel smoother. Chapter 4. Navigating security with essential medical devices. Traveling with medical devices can be daunting, but with the right approach, it doesn't have to be. The TSA is familiar with a wide range of medical devices, from insulin pumps to CPAP machines. According to their guidelines, you should inform the TSA officer about your device before the screening process begins. For insulin pumps, it's crucial to let the TSA officers know that you cannot remove the device. Most insulin pumps are allowed to pass through the full body scanner without issue. If you're not comfortable with this, you can request a pat-down instead. Did you know that about 7 million Americans use insulin? Many of them travel frequently. CPAP machines, which are used to treat sleep apnea, should be packed in their carrying case. The TSA requires these machines to be taken out of their cases for screening. However, the machines do not have to be disassembled. An interesting fact: over 22 million Americans have sleep apnea, and many use CPAP machines. For travelers with pacemakers or other implantable medical devices, carrying a device identification card can be helpful. This card explains the device and why it cannot go through certain screening equipment. In a study by the American Heart Association, 20% of travelers with pacemakers reported smoother security checks by showing their ID cards. Chapter 5. Prepping for International Travel, Medication Edition. Traveling internationally with medication requires a bit more preparation. Each country has its own rules and regulations about what medications are allowed. According to the World Health Organization, it's vital to research the medication policies of your destination country before you travel. A useful strategy is to carry a letter from your doctor. This letter should explain your medical condition and the necessity of your medication. It can be particularly useful in countries with strict drug regulations. The International Travel Health Guide recommends this practice for all international travelers with medications. Another tip is to check if your medication is legal in the country you're visiting. Some countries have restrictions on medications that are commonly prescribed in the US. For example, Japan has strict regulations on certain over-the-counter medications containing pseudoephedrine. To avoid any issues, bring a copy of your prescription with both the generic and brand names of the medication. This can be especially helpful if you need to refill your medication abroad. According to the International Society of Travel Medicine, 30% of travelers have had to seek medication while overseas. Chapter 6. Doctor's Notes and Documentation. Why they matter. Having a doctor's note can make a big difference when traveling with medications. The TSA does not require you to have a note, but it can smooth out the process if there are any questions about your medication. A well-written doctor's note should include your doctor's contact information, the name of your medication, and the dosage. Interesting fact: a survey by the Travel Health Insurance Association found that 40% of travelers carrying medications had a doctor's note, and they reported fewer issues at security checkpoints. It's also wise to have a list of all your medications, including dosages and the conditions they treat. This can be particularly useful if you need medical assistance while traveling. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, recommends this practice for all travelers. For those with chronic conditions, having a detailed medical history can be beneficial. This should include information about your condition, treatment plan, and any potential complications. According to a study in the Journal of Travel Medicine, 25% of travelers with chronic conditions experienced fewer issues at security when they had detailed documentation. If you're carrying controlled substances, having proper documentation is crucial. This can include your prescription, a doctor's note, and any necessary permits. In 2019, the U.S. Customs and Border Protection reported that proper documentation significantly reduced delays for travelers carrying controlled medications. Chapter 7. Handling Special Medications, Controlled Substances and Narcotics. Traveling with controlled substances or narcotics requires extra care. These medications are often subject to stricter regulations due to their potential for abuse. According to the DEA, you should always carry a copy of your prescription when traveling with these medications. One helpful tip is to keep your medications in their original containers with the pharmacy label attached. This can prevent misunderstandings at security checkpoints. If you're carrying a large supply, consider bringing a doctor's note explaining why you need that amount. A unique fact. A study by the National Institute on Drug Abuse found that 18% of travelers carrying controlled substances experienced delays at security checkpoints. Proper documentation can help avoid these delays. If you're traveling internationally, research the specific regulations of your destination country. Some countries have very strict laws regarding controlled substances. For instance, in the United Arab Emirates, even some common painkillers are banned. Always check the country's embassy website for up-to-date information. A practical strategy is to carry a travel-sized medication organizer. This can help keep your medications accessible and organized. According to the Travel Medicine and Infectious Disease Journal, 25% of travelers find medication organizers helpful for maintaining their medication schedule. Chapter 8. Emergency Preparedness. What if your medication is confiscated? No one wants to think about their medication being confiscated, but it's best to be prepared. First, always carry a detailed list of your medications, including their generic names. This can help you find replacements if needed. A useful tip is to carry an extra prescription from your doctor. This can be invaluable if you need to refill your medication while traveling. According to the American Medical Association, having an extra prescription can save time and stress in emergencies. If your medication is confiscated, contact the nearest U.S. embassy or consulate. They can help you find local medical assistance. Interesting fact. The U.S. Department of State assists over 200,000 Americans with medical emergencies abroad each year. Another strategy is to have a backup supply of essential medications in your checked luggage. This can be a lifesaver if your carry-on medications are confiscated. According to the International Association for Medical Assistance to Travelers, having a backup supply is recommended for all travelers with critical medications. Chapter 9. Real-life stories and expert tips. Learning from others' experiences can be incredibly valuable. Let's dive into some real-life stories and expert tips. Jane, a frequent traveler with diabetes, shared her story of traveling with insulin. Always carry a letter from your doctor, she advised. It saved me a lot of hassle at security. An interesting fact. A survey by the American Diabetes Association found that 70% of travelers with diabetes carry a doctor's note, and 80% of them reported smoother security checks. John, who travels with a CPAP machine, recommends using a TSA-friendly carrying case. It makes the screening process much quicker, he said. According to a study by the National Sleep Foundation, 30% of CPAP users travel with their machines regularly. Expert advice from Dr. Sarah Johnson, a travel medicine specialist, highlights the importance of being prepared. Always have a contingency plan, she says. Know where you can get medical help if needed. Unique tip. Carry a portable medication cooling case for temperature-sensitive meds. These cases can keep your medications safe during long flights. According to the International Journal of Travel Medicine, 15% of travelers use cooling cases for their medications. Lastly, remember that honesty is the best policy at security checkpoints. Be upfront with TSA officers about your medical needs. This can prevent misunderstandings and ensure a smoother travel experience.